friends, Bex here, and it's been a hot minute, but oh my goodness, we've got huge news about Chapter 3 in Dune Awakening, and there is a lot coming our way. Funcom just dropped a developer direct, which I actually co-streamed with the community, and we live reacted to everything as it happened. So in this video, I'm gonna break it all down. What's coming, what it means, and why Chapter 3 could be a massive moment for Dune Awakening. If you love Dune Awakening content, guides, reactions, and honest breakdowns, make sure you like the video and subscribe, because honestly, the future of this game is looking really bright. Alright, let's get into everything about Chapter 3. So, very quick recap before we go in depth. Chapter 3 continues the main story, which I love because I always felt like the story in Dune Awakening has been one of its strongest parts. The big headline though is the revamped endgame progression, and this ties directly into the character specializations, the Landsraad missions. We've all been waiting for a meaningful endgame content, and it finally feels like it's here. We're also getting 5 new mission maps, 5 scalable testing stations, no more boring repetitive runs. You can now scale the difficulty, fight a boss that's actually a real challenge. On top of that, we're getting augments for tier 6 gear, which is huge and directly links to the Landsraad system, plus faction ranks and loads of new faction rewards and even new vehicle skins. Honestly, it feels like Funcom have been a bit quiet for a reason. They've clearly been listening hard to feedback, and this patch is massive. Huge system changes, plus a lot of new content to actually grind and sink your teeth into. We've all been needing that reason to keep logging back on, not just to fuel our base and pay our taxes every 2 weeks. Now, alongside the free update, there's also a paid DLC called the Raiders of the Broken Lands. Price is still unconfirmed, but the content we have in it is very substantial this time. We're talking 74 smuggler building pieces. Yes, 74, which already feels like they've learned from the Lost Harvest DLC feedback. On top of that, we get 17 smuggler decorations, 3 smuggler armors, 2 smuggler weapon skins, 2 new emotes, a smuggler swatch, and a raider buggy. So overall, a solid chunk of cosmetics and much more positive DLC offering. This is just a quick recap. Later in this video, we'll break everything down properly and talk about what this means long term. But for now, what are your thoughts on Chapter 3 with what we know so far? The Landsraad has been completely revamped and massively expanded, giving players real freedom of choice in how they want to contribute and what rewards they will receive in return. This is a huge improvement to how it currently works, where the Landsraad missions are mostly singular with very little flexibility. Now, missions are split into multiple categories, things like gathering, combat, crafting, and more. This completely opens the door for all player types, so you're never forced into content that you don't enjoy. You can complete 5 Landsraad missions per day and 35 per week, which finally gives us a strong reason to log in regularly. You can technically do more missions than this, but anything beyond the limits won't reward you. A really interesting stat that they dropped is maximizing all specializations such as combat, exploration, crafting, and more to a level 100 is supposed to take over a year. Although, let's be honest, gamers might do this in 6 months, who knows. Now, the Landsraad has always been about helping the different houses, but with Chapter 3, they're also expanding the faction progression. Faction levels are increasing from 5 to 20, and these are directly tied to the Landsraad missions. So now you're not just working towards a specific reward, you'll also earn a new currency called the House Script. We don't know a ton about this yet. What we do know is it can be used to purchase additional faction rewards from the faction vendors. We also got to have a new look at the skins for the Ornithopter and Buggy, which is always nice. I really love the look of these personally. Next up, let's talk about the new mission modes, and we're finally getting 5 of them in Chapter 3. Some of these missions are tied directly to the Landsraad missions, while others you can just jump into naturally as part of the normal play. And the variety of these missions is what really surprised me. We're getting things like a new racing mode, reworks, which is basically a fortress that you need to infiltrate, very stealth focused, and yes, I will be absolutely terrible at that. There's also a new radioactive shipwreck mission where you go in, investigate what's happened, don't forget your suit, and that's just many of the examples of how different these experiences actually are. So there isn't just one mission type reskinned 5 times. It's a wide range of generally different content, and you can tackle all of this either solo or a team with other players if you want. Even better, these missions are repeatable. Funcom also showed us 2 new weapons coming in Chapter 3, both melee focused, and honestly, I am beyond hyped for these. First up, we finally got to see the dual blades, and they look so sick. I was talking about this on stream for ages because I literally was so obsessed, but it's amazing to see them in action. These can be unlocked through the story, which I really like. From what we see of the dual blades so far, they look really strong, but for a single target damage. They're really fast, really aggressive. We also got a proper look at the Rapier. Technically, the Rapier has been in the game since launch, but it was used kind of identically to the sword. With Chapter 3, they've reworked the entire combat style now. The Rapier is much more focused on parrying and precision. So finally, Funcom seem to really be focusing on the melee combat for Chapter 3, and I'm really excited because let's be honest, it's been much needed. Next up, let's talk about one of the biggest endgame changes coming to Chapter 3, Augments. In short, Augments are attachments for your weapons and armor that give you additional bonus stats. Each Augment type has 5 individual tiers, and with every tier comes increasing its power. But there is a catch. Once you attach an Augment to a piece of gear, it is permanent. You cannot remove it, and so you will need to be really sure before you commit to obviously adding it to your gear or your weapon. It's a good thing to note that augments do reduce your gear's durability though. We did find out during the developer direct that augments can stack, and this is where also specializations come into play. You can't just craft augments straight away. You will need to complete specific crafting tasks and unlock the schematics first. Funcom also revealed that we're getting 5 brand new testing stations, and each one of them is fully themed and very different from the others. We got a proper deep dive into one of them, which focused on poison-based environment, meaning you actually need to use your static compactor to survive. One of the biggest changes here is that you can now choose your difficulty level, anywhere from 1 to 100. That being said, rewards are capped at certain levels, and you'll need to complete each tier before moving on to the next one. What really excites me though is that the new testing stations finally introduce a proper mega boss with a visible health bar and multiple fight phases. It was genuinely awesome watching Funcom team take on a level 4 difficulty boss and having to kind of work hard for it. We also caught a glimpse of other testing stations, including a fire themed one, electricity themed environment, and honestly they look really incredible. If you've ever watched one of my streams, you'll know that running testing stations with my guildies is one of my absolute favorite things to do. Funcom did admit that this was something originally that they wanted to do in the game, but they simply ran out of time in earlier development. The really exciting part is they also hint that they're reworking the old testing stations in the future, which means testing station 10 might finally be the best again. Now, I did mention earlier that Chapter 3 continues the story, and I am going to keep this completely spoiler free. They did talk about a few narrative things, but one thing that they definitely hinted at was a stronger focus on melee combat, which is going to be really interesting time with the story. They also showed us a really cool looking arena, and if you're a fan of the Dune movies, you will instantly recognize this. I won't say anything more than that. I generally can't wait to see who we end up fighting in the arena. This next chapter is also all about quality of life improvements, and honestly this is something Funcom have have been doing consistently over time. The big one for me personally is that we can finally apply color swatches to our machines and chests. They've also improved the shield wall environment by adding more ramps, as you can see here, making it much easier to navigate with ground vehicles. So I'm sure a lot of people will be happy with this. Another smaller but very important improvement is related to quests that you use in the overland map. If you have an active quest, the game will now automatically show you the direction you need to go, instead of you having to manually check on the map every time. They're also adding a brand new faction chat channel, which lets you communicate with all players in the same faction as you on the same map. It's a really nice touch, I think. And they did hint that there's basically a lot more quality of life changes coming. Unfortunately, they were really running out of time with the developer direct stream, but with everything we've seen so far, plus the massive update, I am very happy with this. We also got a proper showcase on the new Cosmetic DLC, Raiders of the Broken Lands, and wow, the smuggler building pieces look stunning! We're getting 74 building pieces alone, which honestly means I am probably gonna have to build a new mega base somewhere. The interior decorations especially stood out to me. I really love decorating in the game, and I always felt like Dune needs more things to fill in. I also loved the new look of the smuggler armors alongside everything else that is included in this pack. You can really tell that Funcom have listened to the backlash around the Lost Harvest DLC. They have learned from it, and yeah, it makes me very happy. Personally, I will gladly be buying this pack. I always want more options to decorate and make my base look even better and cooler. But I'm curious, will you be picking up the DLC or just skipping it? Let me know what you think. And honestly, that's everything we know so far in Chapter 3 in Dune Awakening. Right now, we don't have a confirmed release date. All we know is that it is planned for Q1 in 2026. But after seeing how polished this already looks, I wouldn't be surprised if it lands sooner rather than later. For me, this update is a huge turning point to the game. Stronger endgame, meaningful progression, and a real variety in content finally. I'm genuinely really excited for what's coming next. I can't wait to experience Chapter 3 with you all and yeah, get into that story, diving into the testing stations and grinding out those Landsraad missions. If you've enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay up to date with everything Dune Awakening, make sure you like the video and subscribe. I will be covering all the updates, patches, and future reveals as we get closer to launch. And I want to hear from you this time. What are you most excited about with Chapter 3? Is there something that you're still hoping that Funcom add that they just haven't done it yet? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, friends.